On this episode of our Marketing Leaders podcast, I talked to Sarah Baier, Global Head of Digital Marketing at UBS Asset Management. And in the conversation, we cover less is more, how you can have more impact by doing fewer things but doing them better. We talk about having a campaign-based approach, how to create campaigns that will really have a significant impact on the underlying business. We talk about using data to build better campaigns, and Sarah's talks through this very eloquently. You talk about ESG and using digital channels to tell that story in a way that's authentic and meaningful. And then we also talk about positioning and the way that you can use mission, vision, and values to do more effective marketing and position yourself as a firm that people want to work with. And then last week, we also talk about using social channels to help senior leaders communicate in a way that's more effective and maybe more relevant for the area in which we live. Anyway, Sarah's an absolute rock star, and I think we're incredibly lucky to have her speak to us. So I'm sure you'll enjoy this conversation just as much as we did. Sarah, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today. We've had a few conversations over the last couple of years, which have always been really interesting. So I thought it'd be great to have you on the podcast. I actually wanted to start by sort of getting to the heart of one of the things that we think is really important, which is this notion of doing less and sort of doing it better, and how you can sort of have a bigger impact by actually doing fewer things, but can't doing things that are going to have a bigger impact. And I thought it'd be interesting to get your take on what that means for what you do with UBS, and we could sort of take it from there.
Yes, that's a really interesting question. And we approached actually the less is more setup with a new credo, which we established within the team. And for us, everything goes along test, learn, and improve. And so everything what we do, we try to learn from our mistakes of the past. And I think it's quite important to establish such a culture where you always try this effective learning experience so that people can start growing. And for us at UBS, this is actually quite important because we are more and more trying to build up the organization on young talents. And for young talents, it's quite important to have this continuous learning experience. And in the past, we rather had the focus on zero failures, and we always focused on doing the things the same way as we have done in the past. That is actually a quite old approach, and I'm really happy that we finally developed further and came to the next level. And our key is actually our new marketing data hub, where we make all data available, and every campaign which we do, we can actually transparently analyze. We implement a lot of A/B tests in our daily routines, which also help us to do more learnings and to understand what is really effective and what works. And at the moment, for example, we are rolling out a new improved website with a new brand design, and we focus on 3 different streams. Because it's not only about rolling out the website, it's really about innovation, optimization, and then, of course, rolling out the websites to every market. But we always thought about we have to have first a proof of concept and then build up on the proof of concept. And especially in the optimization stream, which is, in my opinion, the most important stream, we really look into user journeys, look into on-site conversions, how we can optimize them. We have also a tool in-house, which is called Decibel. It helps us to analyze key campaign pages, and the tool creates heat maps over the website, and we can really see where the attention of a website user is and where the CTAs, the call to actions, should be placed optimal. And with that, we are also trying to improve our activities, and without the principle less is more, you really can't cut through the noise, I think, nowadays, as quality is still key in our industry. And we see more and more that our clients are not only looking for perfection, but also for time to market. So everything in life, it's like a balance you need to have. So I think definitely the less is more principle is quite important, and you can really get to it when you are measuring. I think measuring is really the key for everything, because at the end, there are not fixed rules. You really have to learn how your target audience works, what they appreciate. And some of the things you can then also, from your learnings, you can actually establish over different channels. That is also something what we have done quite successfully. For example, when we do social media activities, we have seen that our target audience is quite data driven. They love actually posts with infographics, and also posts around storytelling. So also carousel posts work quite well. And so we take actually that learning as well for the website. So when we bring website content on site, we also try not to focus anymore on just having small intro paragraphs and then a download of a PDF. We try to bring more content on site, which is then also good for SEO activities, but also then have a lot of charts in there where we see the performance, etc., because we really found out for ourselves that for our clients, this really counts. And the quality of the content is key. So we rather thought about, not providing so many insights, but when we create insights, that the quality assurance is given, and that we then really promote it over all given digital marketing channels, because we have seen when we are just focusing on email marketing or just on social media, we are not getting the website traffic which we expect. So it's more about promoting the good quality content than having too much content on the page, which is definitely not getting valued or seen by the target audience. So it's all about focusing on quality, and then of course the promotion, that the market really hears your voice and has seen the campaigns you're running.
I think there's a really interesting thing that you've pointed to there, which is very much our own view, which is that I think when you're not confident in the themes and the campaigns that you might be going after, you have a tendency to try and like splurge and do almost everything and not be very focused. But I think the data and the tracking and the analysis is the thing that gives you the confidence that, okay, this is going to work. We can actually put a lot of budget behind this. We can actually really focus on just these 3 or 4 things. And that's where you get a lot more, you get a lot more confidence that those things are actually going to work. And I think that's very much our view as well.
Yes, some of the things are predictable, but sometimes when we do the A/B testing, there are often still surprises in there. So it's always interesting that you have a control version and a challenger version, and then really get the learning out of that and build up on the insights you gain.
I think that's particularly true with institutional audiences, where sometimes the types of content you might expect, or the formats that typically are more effective with digital marketing, but maybe sometimes it's counterintuitive what is actually going to work. I think that's definitely true. On the sort of subject of effective campaigns, obviously a large part of what you do is around trying to optimize and build the most effective campaigns through your sort of digital marketing activities. How do you think about creating campaigns that are going to have a big impact?
So what we normally do is we have a mix of always on campaigns, which helps us with brand building and long-term sales growth. And on the other side, we have also sales activation campaigns, which are more targeted for short-term sales lift. And I think this combination works quite well, because nowadays you have to have this always on approach to be present. And branding is getting more and more important. In regards of our target audience, as I already mentioned, they are quite data driven. So also the creatives are quite important, that we are quite selective on them to have or to run successful campaigns. So we focus a lot on infographics or also on carousel posts or carousel possibilities, because they work quite well through the fact that brand building is always based on storytelling. And with this carousel approach, it really gives people a nice idea to get the story from beginning to the end, and they want to continue reading it. And at the moment, we have actually 3 focus areas where we focus our activities. There are our 3 key investment themes, which is China, sustainable and impact investing, and alternatives. And I think this is also important that these are 3 topics which are currently in demand, which helps us, of course, that our content is up to date and people are interested to read it. And for our sales teams, I have to say, key was really the cooperation with them, because when we run campaigns, I think targeting is key, so that we target the right audience. And with the insights of our sales teams, we got our targeting on the next level. So at the moment, our targeting concept is really a combination of location, company, experience, job title targeting, and sometimes we also do account-based marketing, how it's called, that we are really focusing on certain accounts when we actually know that they are on certain sales activity levels, which is also then quite successful. And the idea is also with our new website, where when we have built it up, that we build segments on different key campaign pages, which means if people come to the certain campaign page and they didn't perform a certain call to action, which we put in place as the ideal user journey, we have then with these segments the possibility of retargeting. So if people are coming to our website, we see there is an interest for a certain topic, then of course it makes sense to focus on them and get them on the next level. And so these retargeting campaigns are also quite powerful. And for that, we use, for example, the Adobe Audience Builder. And it's a quite cool invention, I have to say, that you can really build these segments and target so specifically, because then your budget, and I think most of the asset managers are always have constraints of the budget, but there you can really then prove and you get down with your cost per conversion, etc. So I think it's definitely a good investment.
I think that's a really interesting point about retargeting, and it's something I don't think we see enough of in general. Given it's so, when it's used in the right way, it can be potentially extremely powerful. You mentioned the 3 sort of big campaign areas that you've been working with. Did you select those based on intuition, or was that based on working with the sales team or accessing data points of what your audience was actually looking for?
So it had several aspects. On the one hand, it's aligned with our sales priorities, of course. And then on the other hand, it's also based on the data or the analytics which we have seen, because we can see who's interested, and we are analyzing also in regards of website searches. We also look for keyword trends on Google. So we are always trying to be a bit ahead with the instruments which are existing nowadays. I think that's the beauty of the digitalization, that you have so many possibilities and so many data insights on what people are interested in and what they are looking for. And we are trying to actually use that. But of course, most of the activities on the marketing side are always fully aligned with our sales activities, and the sales priorities guide us on upcoming campaigns, etc.
So on the note of using data, what are some of the ways that you use data to build better campaigns?
So normally everyone says nowadays that data is the new gold, and I have to say that's completely true, because it's data is really a game changer. And during the COVID situation, we really used the time wisely to build out our marketing ecosystem and build up our marketing tech stack. So we integrated our CRM system, which is like the source system for our sales colleagues, with our key marketing platforms. And we have now one data hub for marketing and sales data. And also, like on the marketing side, we are already quite transparent, and we have this marketing data hub. And we always thought that our sales colleagues will use that as well, but actually we were completely wrong, because they only work with the CRM system, and when we want them to actually work more data driven, we have to bring the data into the CRM system. So that was a big learning from our side. And so we tried to actually make it as handy as possible for them. And we established dashboards, which are called Insights Point. It goes aligned with our CRM system, which is called Client Point. So as the name already says, Insights Point are dashboards which are completely integrated in our CRM system. So the CRM doesn't have to switch the platform, which is quite important for him. And in these Insights Point dashboards, he can consume actually at the moment all marketing data. And at the moment, we are trying to get these dashboards more in shape. So first, we started to give them the insights on all email marketing related activities. So on the one side, they can see who opened, who clicked, who showed an interest. With that, we started to build up interest profiles. So if it was a China-related mailing, or if it was a sustainable and impact investing-related mailing, they get actually that into their interest profile. And we have also like a scoring model to see how big the interest is on certain topics or asset classes. And with that, we first know a bit more about the behavior, the interest, and the engagement level. And the same what we have done on the email side, we are currently also trying to do with website information. So when someone comes from an email to the website, it's all actually getting tracked via the tracking code. And so we are trying also to bring key moments of truth on the website back into their profile. And last but not least, also event information we also bring back into the profile of the respective prospect or client, so that we have a full overview about his digital marketing activities. And altogether, this should help actually the CRM to make better decisions, to know when someone is actually a hot lead and has shown an increased activity on a certain topic. So he knows it's time to give the person a call, so that he can place his sales pitch at the right moment when the person has definitely a need for it. That is actually what we are trying. Sometimes it's not that easy, but I think during the last 2 years, we made a big step forward in that direction.
Sounds like you've done an incredible job of connecting back all of the various different touch points, whether that's email, website, real world event interactions into one place where you can access and really use that data. So that's really quite powerful. Taking a slightly different angle. You mentioned storytelling earlier, and especially at the brand awareness, using storytelling to communicate that corporate story. One of the big things that asset managers obviously have to talk about in this day and age is obviously ESG. I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about how you use digital channels and what you think is the best practices there in terms of telling that ESG story, but also telling it in a way that's authentic.
Yes, very happy to do that. So we launched recently our new value proposition, and the new value proposition, ESG, is actually in the heart of it. And with this new value proposition, we really want to show how we differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And it was fully digital enabled, which means there were all activities were around digital channels. And perhaps I want to say a bit more about what was actually the idea or the slogan of our value proposition, just so that you can really see that sustainability is key about it. So the slogan counts like says, we do asset management without compromise, and our commitment is turning aspirations into actions. And we commit to sustainable outcomes without compromises. So you can really see that the compromise part without compromise is really repeating, and that we are really looking into getting the new ideas, the new climate change, all these topics which are in the media, that we are briefing it, and that we are trying to turn these aspirations, which, how can I say, which clients are worrying about, that we are the right partner, bringing them in on the next level, and that we are promising them to have sustainable outcomes, which means we are looking on the one side at their performance, but always having this ESG concept in mind. And to really show that we are behind that, we joined the Net Zero Asset Manager Initiative as one of the founding members in 2020, because for us it was really important that we are actually showing that we have a strong commitment to that, supporting our clients in achieving their decarbonization goals. We also embedded sustainability across a range of investment strategies. So that was actually also quite a lot of effort for the different teams being involved. And for that, we already received a couple of awards for this active engagement, where we are actually quite proud of. Just to mention one was last week, I was involved in doing a couple of communication on social media around ETP award, where we were announced as the best sustainable ETF provider. And that was actually like a little milestone for us, especially for the ETF team in Germany. And they were really excited about it. And they didn't only wanted to actually communicate it via the LinkedIn showcase page, or like the company account which we have. They also want to actually promote it via their own LinkedIn presences, so that the message is really heard and that they can use it as a leading remark when people are interested in understanding more about what we offer on the sustainable side. And also, when you visit our new website, you will see the first hero banner shows our outstanding new visual selection for our value proposition. There you will see the slogan asset management without compromise. And you will see also that what we try, and I think the new imagery is quite interesting, because it shows different people from a diversity standpoint, but all of them reflecting sustainability in their hearts. So we tried with this new imagery concept to bring the new sustainable topics into the person itself, so that people really see that this is our base, that this is in our DNA. And it was quite interesting how that idea with these imagery actually occurred.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's really been very much embedded in everything, right from the value proposition right through to the visuals and the way that you're presenting information. I guess a lot of that clarity comes from the fact that you've done so much work around the positioning and the mission and values, etc. How important do you think positioning and mission and vision and values are to effective marketing?
I think it's really important, and you really see that also when our new Digital Story CEO, Ralph Hammers, joined. The first thing he did was to introduce smartly a new purpose at UBS. So I think also when you look into senior management, I think it's the most important thing, because everyone nowadays looks for a purpose-driven brand with whom he or she can connect and identify him or herself. So I think this topic was neglected for a long time. And there's a really good actually book around that, where this purpose was always key. And now I think a lot of brands have understood that. And I think in the fast moving consumer goods area, it's always a bit easier, and branding was always done quite heavily, and the vision of a brand was more important than actually in our industry. But I think now we came to the point where a vision and a mission is, first of all, attracting new clients and prospects. But I came also back to the topic with talents. I think also for the millennials nowadays, and if you want to attract new talent to your company, which is definitely key, for them the purpose is very important. They have different intrinsic motivators than actually the generations before them. It's not all about just making career, getting more salary. It's really they want to work for a company they can be proud working for, and they want to be challenged with projects which definitely have an impact. And as my team, the average age is actually below 30. We are quite young, dynamic team, which is quite unusual, but I think it's definitely needed if you want to stay on top of all digital trends and want to move and shake up our industry, which should get more digitalized. I think with the COVID situation, it was definitely more booming, and we can also see a bit of the positive aspects from the pandemic, that companies were forced to invest more in digitalization. And I think we are definitely on the right way. And for me, the vision is really, really key for the talents, for prospects and clients. I think it's definitely something a company shouldn't neglect anymore and invest, and really use that as a differentiation factor from competitors.
I definitely think that there's, as we see the sort of increasing retailization, if you like, I think that we can see even more digitalization as well. And I think what you do is just going to become more and more and more central to the way that we communicate as asset management firms. The last thing I actually wanted to talk to you about, Sarah, was you mentioned, I think you said digital rock stars earlier, and I wondered if you could talk to me a little bit about how you think you can best use social channels to help senior leaders within the firm communicate and project their own personal brands, but also be a way of telling the corporate story as well.
Yes, so actually social media is for us one of the key channels of the future. A lot of our senior leaders haven't believed in it, but definitely since 1.5 years, things have changed. Previously, we were focusing a lot on events and email marketing campaigns, but with that, you couldn't reach the target audience anymore. And now we were looking for alternative communication channels, and a lot of our sales staff was actually quite interested to become social media professionals. They wanted to master the new ways of communication. And in general, at UBS, we have quite a restrictive social media policy, which means normally as an employee, you are only allowed to share and like UBS social media content when it has a certain hashtag, which is called Share UBS, because then employees know that the content is safe to share and they are allowed to like or share it, but not allowed to comment it, because the company is quite keen that nothing is going viral, which shouldn't go viral. So actually only selected people in the business who run through a certain onboarding process. So they get certain trainings, their LinkedIn profile needs to get to a certain UBS look and feel. They become part of such a social ambassador program, which we call at UBS Asset Management Digital Rockstars. And as a digital rockstar, you are definitely trained to be an effective communicator on social media. media, and your LinkedIn profile has a certain look and feel, so that it's your digital business card, and you start actually establishing yourself as a thought leader in your network. So we are helping these people who we identified as our key persons in the company. It can be CRMs, it can be investment specialists, and it can be senior management. So what we also found out over the last 3 years is that a mix is definitely important, because people want to explore UBS asset management from all different angles, and all these 3 different people types have different mandates or have different goals. And if you follow, for example, a senior manager of UBS on social media, he will post more around branding, how UBS is different from the competitors. He will post around social activities, awards, and his mandate is more about promoting UBS as a asset manager. Then the investment specialist group, they are quite proud in the area what they are working for. If it's someone from the real estate business or someone who works on the hedge management side of things, they are having a clear communication goal, and they want to promote the research they are actually producing, and they want to make that asset class sexy. So everyone should invest in hedge funds, or everyone should know our IPM portfolio. So they are also quite interested to follow, because you really see the hard plot they have for the area they are working in. And last but not least, we have also like 80% of the people in our program are more from the sales side, client relationship managers. And for them at the beginning, it was always hard to find ideal content strategy, because at the end they want to promote everything. So we sit together with them and tried to understand what are their motivators, what they see themselves they are good in, and actually we try to help them to find the individual content strategies, because at the end on social media you can be only successful if you follow the 4-1-1 rule. So you need to have a good content mix, which means 4-1-1 stands for 4 created content pieces, 1 promotional content piece, and 1 personal content piece. So we are also trying, and that was a learning curve for all of them. They shouldn't become a UBS marketing channel and only promoting UBS content. It's more about themselves, that they should get seen as experts, but you only want to have an expert which you really feel a trust level, because our business is still based on trust. So people also want to see, who is that person? What does this person do besides of being a client relationship manager for that business segment? And for them it was for some it was easy. For others it was a harder journey to really open up and show the person they are in. But since some of them have done that and they have this content mix, their posting activities are much more successful. And for us, this was actually only the first step on a long journey, because for next year, we are actually planning to go on the next evaluation level, which means we started to build up their profiles so that they look professional and that they can use it as digital business card, because when they have a new lead, everything works over LinkedIn. You always check out people first on LinkedIn to see who's your counterpart you have a call with, and to understand, can I trust this person, yes or no? The next level was to actually make them visible on LinkedIn so that people see that they are thought leaders on certain topics. And if they have a question around China, that Mr. Doe is the right person to talk to. So that was actually the second step. And the third step, which we actually plan to do next year, is to make the switch from social sharing to social selling. And together with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is a quite powerful tool, I think, we have a great journey ahead, because social selling, I think it will be a key differentiator going forward.
I'm very excited to see how the social selling works out for you. next year we'll have to have another conversation around that. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Sarah, thank you very much for your time today. I think that's been incredibly helpful. I think a lot of people will find that both interesting and very useful as well. So thank you for your time.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you so much, Josh, for having me.